Hello, it's Wendy Dewar Hughes from the little online shop at summerbaystudio.com. Today I'm going to share with you how you can paint this beautiful little pumpkin. It's a quick and simple project and all the instructions follow. Before I get started, however, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the little bell so that you can be notified of the new videos when they come out. And stay till the end because I have a nice surprise for you. For this painting of the pumpkin, you'll need to start with a drawing, and I've created one for you. This is available on my website. All you have to do is download it, tack your watercolor paper to it with some paper clips, hold it up to a window, and trace it. That's what I did. The link is below. Here's my drawing of my pumpkin, and to get started, I'm going to use an orangey red paint, which is cadmium red light. So I want to mix up kind of a puddle of it and make it fairly intense, because what we're going to do is paint the pumpkin with this one to start with. Now, one of the first things you need to decide is where your source of light is. And in this case, I'm bringing the light in from the right hand side, so that means the shadows will be stronger on the left. The nice thing about working with a small piece of paper is that you can turn it around so that it is in a good situation for your hand. What we want to do then is just take the paint down the side at the pencil line. Just go over the interior pencil lines. They'll still show up, and by the time we're finished with the painting, it's not going to matter. What you want to do also is to keep that wet edge wet. So whenever you pick up paint, and I'm picking up a little bit more watery concoction every time, what I want to do is for it to be lighter as I go towards the right hand side of the pumpkin. So that requires me to have more diluted paint. Don't necessarily want your paint brush to be really full of paint, because then it'll sort of backwash and you'll get watermarks, which is okay. Watermarks don't hurt. You can see here where the water is pushing back on this drier edge, and that's going to give me a watermark there, but I'm going to fix it by just going over it quickly. One of the things about watercolor you need to know is that you don't want to mess with it very much, because it usually doesn't help. Just think of it this way: messing with it ends up in a mess. So again, just connecting with that edge with more diluted paint. And how you can do that is just pick some up from your puddle, drop it down somewhere else on your palette, and then add some water to that. But you don't want to necessarily fill your brush right full of paint so that it's dripping. Okay, so there's our first step. Then before we move on, you let that dry. You can leave your pumpkin like this as far as depth of color goes, but I want it to be a little bit more vibrant, so I'm going to add another layer and basically do the same thing again. I'll show you the results in a second. Now that our pumpkin is dry, let's put in some shadows. I'm using a smaller brush for this. This is a size 6. So I've mixed up a mixture here of ultramarine violet, and some Payne's gray. Just more violet than gray, and we want to just put it on the far edge of the pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that in there, and it might, please don't be horrified by it because it looks kind of intense, but you'll see in the end that it works. And I'm completely taking all the water out of my brush now, and I'm going to soften this edge because I want it to just blur into what's next. Rub the water out, and we'll let that dry. Because our light source is coming from the right hand side, that means that by every one of these bumps where there's an indent, we're going to have a bit of a shadow. So let's work on that. And for this one I'm using a number 4 brush, and what I'm going to do is just fill it with water only and draw it down beside these lines. And then while it's still wet, I take the very tip of my brush and go down the line. And if I put down enough water, it should bleed into it. Now, it appears that on this one, I haven't put down enough water. So I'm just going to go along the edge with water only in my brush and try to pull that out a little bit. So I'm going to do that for each one. Again, a little bit wetter this time. Just run it down there, remove most of the water, pick up some paint, not too much, and then run the point of my brush down the line. Now you'll notice that it looks fairly dark over on this side, so as we go over I'm going to make it a little bit lighter, so my dilution is greater. There, now I've put all those lines in so the shadows show on the pumpkin, and you can see how much more dimension it gives it. I'm going to take that same shadow color, which is a purpley color, and add just a bit more of the Payne's Gray to it and do the stem. Just as an aside, you don't need to paint your pumpkin orange if you don't want to. You can use these techniques with any color. So if you want to make it a seaside pumpkin and make it aqua, go right ahead. Have fun with it. And I'm also going to put a little bit of shadow along the side here, because that's the side away from the light. Now that all my shading is done, there's one more thing that we need to do, and that is we don't want our pumpkin to be floating in space, so we need to put a little bit of shadow. And again, and put a bunch of water over here, because I don't want it to have an edge. So in this puddle, I've picked up some more purple that I've already mixed, and I'm just going to drop it in here and let it bleed so that it gives us a nice shadow for the pumpkin. A little bit more intense. I'm going to push it towards the pumpkin itself so that it's more intense against the pumpkin. And the great thing about watercolor is that it's water and it runs. So if I want it here, I'll just put it like that, hold it so that the water runs there until it kind of dries, and it'll end up where I want it to be. Don't forget to go and pick up your free drawing at my website. The link is also below. I hope you enjoyed this little project. I sure did. In fact, I added to it and painted this. This design is now in my Hello Autumn collection at summerbaystudio.com. And my surprise for you is you can now download and print this pretty design for free. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it below and leave a comment.